What's up, everybody? It's Mr. B, better known as Mr. Brian Teacher, here again with another video. And today we're going to talk about the order of adjectives. And with this video, we're going to answer the number one question that's on everyone's mind. How will I ever figure this out? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good question. So let's get right into it and figure this thing out.
Adjective word order. How do I figure this stuff out? Today's lesson is about figuring out the correct way to use adjectives in a phrase or sentence. What? You telling me adjectives have an order? Yes, adjectives have an order. And the rule is, when using more than one adjective in a sentence, they are placed in a sequence. Most native speakers don't even know this rule. It's something that we just do naturally. Your brain is designed to take things and put them in categories. So I think over time, as language developed, these words were put in categories and then in turn put in a sequence. Interesting fact. We know there's a rule for where an adjective goes in a sentence, but there's actually no rule that says how many adjectives you can use in a sentence. So in theory, you could actually say, I have a lovely, small, square, rich, young, blue, spotted, American, gold watch. Can you imagine the first conversation about where an adjective goes in a sentence? It must have went something like this. So let's take a look at this picture. There's tons of adjectives you can use to describe it. So let's take a look at some of the words that some other students have given me. Cute, small, baby, one, white, fluffy, curious. But for the sake of sounding more natural, we're going to take out, we're not going to use as many adjectives in the sentence because it's only natural in natural speech to use really 2 or 3 adjectives to describe one thing in one phrase. And at that point, you probably want to just use a second phrase or create a second sentence. So take a look at this picture based on the words that you've seen. Please, the words here, fluffy, cute, and white, please make a sentence or phrase and arrange the adjectives in the correct order. Let's give it a shot. Okay, so by now you should have done that, and this is what it should look like. A cute, white, fluffy kitten. Did you get that answer? If not, we'll try again, but hopefully you got it right on the first try. Does it really matter where an adjective goes, you may be thinking? Like I said, this can be a frustrating thing to try to do, especially if you haven't done it before. But remember that word order, or adjective order helps you sound more natural. This skill can be mastered with practice, but don't expect to master it within your first couple times. It takes time to learn this skill. And remember not to worry so much about making mistakes, because at the end of the day, speaking and writing is about communicating, plain and simple, right? You don't have to be so eloquent, but we just need to get the point across, right? So take your time and you'll definitely get this. Also, some things to remember when you're doing this. If your adjective falls in the same category, then it doesn't matter which one goes first. So for example, she is an interesting, beautiful woman, right? These adjectives are opinions. So this sentence could be done the other way. You could switch the adjectives around in the opposite order. So you could write or say, she's a beautiful, interesting woman, right? Based on what you see here, note the comma and note the use of the article before. So if you are switching the adjectives, make sure you change the article from "an" to "a beautiful," right? Also, commas. A quick tip in determining if a comma is needed is to add "and" in between those adjectives. One way to tell if you need a comma, like I said, is to add "and." We call this the "and" test. Place an "and" in between the adjectives. So, for example, she is a beautiful and interesting woman. So yes, you would add a comma, right? So it sounds natural. It goes in between those adjectives. She is a beautiful and interesting woman. And it doesn't change the meaning of the sentence as well. So also, if you add an "and," sometimes it can actually change the complete meaning of the whole phrase or sentence. But for a sentence like this, my wonderful new blue bike, I don't need to add "and," so I don't need to say my wonderful and new and blue bike, right? You don't need commas in between those adjectives, and then again, it sounds unnatural. So one way to do this is not to only just write it, but to say it, to hear yourself say it, and then a lot of times you can tell if that's the correct way it should be done. All right, let's take a closer look at this. One refers to the number, which also can be the article's place, a or and. It can be an order number, first, second, third, or it can be listed as 1, 2, 3, so forth and so on, right? Second is the opinion, is your attitude or observation about the particular noun. Size, giant, enormous, little, huge. These are all adjectives to describe size. Shape, round, square, flat, rectangular. Condition is the state that it's in. Fragile, clean, wet, rich, hungry. Age obviously refers to number, but also refers to old, ancient, modern. Colors can also be bluish, grayish, greenish, these shades of color. Patterns refer to the way it looks, the design on it, which is spotted, striped, zigzagged. Origin is where this particular noun comes from. Korea, Russia, Saudi, American, right? Material is the material that is made out of. Metal, wooden, golden, plastic. And its purpose. What do you use this for? Shopping, fixing, sewing, so forth and so on. So this is the definitions behind the adjectives and where they fall in the phrase. So take a closer look at that. Pause this. Take a closer look at it. You know, if you need to write it down. You can also make some great flashcards to remind yourself. As I always say, to learn something, you need to actually do it and not just hear it. So here we are. Here's some practice. Let's figure this out together, right? At the top, you'll have the order of adjectives and where to place the adjectives. Below is the phrase, and below are the adjectives, right? So let's try to determine what these adjectives are together. So brown, color, lovely, opinion, wavy. Do we know? What do you think? And long, size. So I left wavy open to use because I want to see if you can figure this out on your own. All right, so take a minute or two, pause this to see if you can do that on your own. All right, did you get that? She has lovely, long, brown, wavy hair. Wavy is the pattern. All right, let's try it again. Let's stop and take a look at some examples before we move on. In these examples, I want you to take note of what category the adjectives fall in. Feel free to post your answers in the...
All right, everybody, that's order of adjectives. Grammar can be frustrating and confusing, but they're only words. Words can't hurt. Maybe words can hurt if someone's saying something bad about you, but good adjectives don't hurt. So always use good adjectives, and see you next time.